Myself, Dr. Alji Vadia. So today's topic is cirrhosis of liver. Actually, you have total 3 lectures on cirrhosis of liver. In today's lecture, we will cover general introductions about cirrhosis of liver, classifications of cirrhosis of liver, and details about alcoholic liver disease, including alcoholic cirrhosis. In second lectures of cirrhosis, we will see non-alcoholic cirrhosis, right? Post-necrotic cirrhosis, biliary cirrhosis, Indian sidewalk cirrhosis, etc. And in third lectures of cirrhosis, we will see complications of cirrhosis as well as we will see autopsy findings in cirrhosis of liver. So for cirrhosis, there are 3 lectures. This is first lectures of cirrhosis of liver. Before going to cirrhosis of liver, just see microscopic diagrammatic pictures of liver parenchyma, hepatic parenchyma. As you all know, there is presence of central veins, Porter triad or Porter tracts, and there is cords of hepatocytes. These are cords of hepatocytes. Here there is sinusoids. This is basic structures of hepatic parenchyma. Porter triad consists of bile ducts, portal veins, and portal hepatic artery. This, along with these cords of hepatocytes, there is presence of stellate cells. These stellate cells contains yellow colored granules. Normally, in normal conditions, physiological conditions, these cells act as a storage cells for vitamin A. But whenever these stellate cells get activated, they produce extracellular materials like collagens, leading to fibrosis and depositions of extracellular materials. These sinusoids are lined by endothelial cells, plus there is presence of Kupffer cells. These are Kupffer cells, which also play important roles in various inflammatory processes. Coming to cirrhosis of liver introductions. The term cirrhosis was first coined by Renneck in 1826. There are many definitions for cirrhosis, but common themes for cirrhosis is there is presence of injury to hepatocytes, parenchymal injury to hepatocytes. Various etiological factors for this injury. It may be infective or non-infective, like toxic material in case of alcohol. Once injury occurs, there is damage of these hepatocytes. You can call it necrosis of hepatocytes. After necrosis, our body have normal process for repair as well as regeneration. So after necrosis or injury, there is process of repair and regeneration, and due to repair, there is formations of scar. So this is normal thing for cirrhosis. Any etiological factors for cirrhosis, there is presence of injury, repair, regeneration, and due to repair, there is scar formations or excessive fibrous tissue depositions. Cirrhosis, whatever etiology, it is a generalized process. So not a localized process, but it is a generalized process, involves entire livers. Primary histological features for cirrhosis of liver: marked fibrosis. Due to repair process, there is marked fibrosis. Due to necrosis or injury, there is destruction of vascular and biliary elements. Plus there is necrosis of hepatocytes. To compensate this loss of hepatocyte, there is regeneration, producing nodules, regenerating nodules. So nodule formations occurs due to regeneration. Coming to pathophysiology for cirrhosis of liver. Primary event is injury to hepatocellular elements. After injury, there is some kind of inflammatory response which produce various cytokines and toxic substance. These cytokines and toxic substance causes destructions of hepatocytes, along with there is destructions of bile duct cells, vascular endothelial cells. So destructions of hepatic parenchymal tissue occurs due to injury and inflammatory response. After destructions of parenchymal tissue, there is repair process through cellular proliferations and regenerations. So here stellate cell get activated. which produces excessive fibrous and collagen tissues, leading to repair process. Due to loss of hepatocytes, there is regeneration. To compensate loss of hepatic functions, there is regeneration, and due to regeneration, there is formation of regenerating nodules. So formations of fibrosis due to repair and formations of regenerating nodules due to regeneration occurs. Whenever there is excessive fibrosis along with productions of nodules, this fibrotic tissue as well as nodules causes pressure effect to surrounding normal parenchymal tissue. And due to this pressure effect, it prevents normal flow of nutrients to hepatocytes and increase vascular resistance. Initially, fibrosis may be reversible if inciting events are removed, but ultimately if injury is sustained, process of fibrosis becomes irreversible and leads to cirrhosis of liver. Coming to classifications of cirrhosis of liver, two types of classifications, one is morphological and other one is etiological. Morphological classifications of cirrhosis, WHO divided cirrhosis into three categories: micronodular cirrhosis, macronodular cirrhosis and mixed cirrhosis. Micronodular means nodules are smaller, micro means smaller in size. So here nodules are less than 3 mm in size. If nodules are greater than 3 mm in size, it is called macronodular. Mixed means presence of both micro as well as macronodules. Any of these three types may be in active as well as inactive forms, depending on the etiological factors as well as severity of these injurious stimuli. Coming to etiological classifications of cirrhosis, commonest is alcoholic cirrhosis. Most common, accounts for 60 to 70% of all cirrhosis. Then there is post-necrotic cirrhosis, accounts for approximately 10% of cases of cirrhosis. This occurs after hepatitis. Then biliary cirrhosis, either primary or due to other cholestatic etiological factors. Then pigment cirrhosis in case of hemochromatosis. Here excessive iron depositions lead to pigment depositions within hepatocytes, which ultimately causes damage to hepatocytes, leading to cirrhosis. Then cirrhosis of Wilson's disease. Wilson's disease is a genetic disorder. Here there is excessive copper depositions within hepatocytes, and this copper acts as a toxic substance for hepatocytes, leading to hepatocyte damage and ultimately cirrhosis. Cirrhosis in case of alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, same mechanisms. In case of alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, primarily there is pan-acinar emphysema. This is also genetic disorders. Here there is, in liver, there is depositions of mutant alpha-1 antitrypsin proteins, and these mutant proteins excessively deposit within hepatocytes, leading to damage to hepatocytes, leading to cirrhosis. Then there is cardiac cirrhosis. This occurs whenever there is right-sided heart failure. So back pressure goes to liver, leading initially chronic venous congestions of liver, CVC of livers. If this CVC of liver, chronic venous congestions of liver, persists or it becomes chronic, there is occurrence of cirrhosis of liver, that is called cardiac cirrhosis. Then Indian childhood cirrhosis. Childhood means occurrence in childhood age groups. Various etiological factors, it may be due to unknown etiology or it may be due to some kind of excessive copper ingestions during childhood age groups. Then there is cryptogenic cirrhosis. Here there is etiology is unknown, or you can say by clinical findings or various physical examinations, clinical history as well as histological examinations doesn't reveal particular cause of cirrhosis, that is cryptogenic cirrhosis. Various miscellaneous forms of cirrhosis due to various conditions, metabolic disorders, various inflammatory disease, GI disorders or infiltrative disorders, especially in case of malignant metastatic disorders. After classifications, coming to clinical features of cirrhosis. Clinical features depends either on loss of hepatocytes, that means effects of liver cell failure. Due to loss of hepatocytes, hepatic failure occurs, and these are various signs and symptoms of hepatic failures. Other signs and symptoms common are due to portal hypertension. So whenever there is cirrhosis, there is excessive fibrous depositions and there is nodule formations. This causes pressures on vessels, especially veins, and due to backflow changes, there is portal hypertension. So signs and symptoms of hepatic failures are coma. This is called hepatic coma. This occurs due to excessive ammonia within blood, and this ammonia goes to brain parenchyma leading to coma, that is called hepatic coma. Fetal hepaticus, this also occurs due to excessive ammonia as well as sulfur and other substance within blood. So here fetal hepaticus means breath smells like a freshly opened corpus. Particular smells occurs, that is called fetal hepaticus. Spiral nevi, this occurs due to dilatations of blood vessels, and this occurs due to excessive estrogens. Gynecomastia, this also occurs due to excessive estrogens. Jaundice, this occurs due to bile stasis, excessive accumulations of biles leading to yellowish discolorations of skin known as jaundice. Ascites, here due to hepatic failures there is hypoproteinemia, less productions of protein leading to hypoproteinemia, and due to hypoproteinemia there is accumulations of fluid leading to ascites as well as ankle or pedal edema. Loss of sexual health as well as testicular atrophy, loss testosterone levels. In cirrhosis, there is reductions in testosterone level, plus there is excessive accumulations of estrogens, increase in estrogen levels. Liver flaps due to brain involvement, particular type of tremors occurs, that is called liver flaps. Bleeding tendency, as you all know, liver is a site for coagulation factor production. Vitamin K dependent coagulation factors are produced within liver. So hepatic failures, there is less amount of this vitamin K dependent coagulation factor productions occur leading to bleeding tendency. Then anemia occurs, macrocytic as well as iron deficiency anemia occurs due to excessive blood loss. This also occurs as a complications of portal hypertension. Macrocytic anemia occurs especially due to B12 deficiency, because there is also gastropathy in case of portal hypertension, and due to gastropathy there is less absorption of vitamin B12. Ankle edema, as I told you, due to hypoproteinemia. Now coming to signs and symptoms due to portal hypertension: esophageal varices, dilated veins, tortuous and dilated veins at gastroesophageal junctions. This esophageal varices leads to either hematemesis or melena. Plus there is due to back pressure changes there is also gastropathy. Splenomegaly, back pressure changes leading to splenomegaly. Dilated abdominal veins, choroidal developments. This is called caput medusa. Due to choroidal development there is dilated and tortuous veins around umbilicus, that is called corpus caput medusa. Ascites, back pressure changes leading to fluid accumulations within peritoneal cavity, and rectal varices or hemorrhoids. This is also occurs due to portal hypertension. This one is typical caput medusa. Dilated tortuous veins around umbilicus, choroidal develops. Discolorations of skin, yellowish discolorations of skin and sclera, jaundice. Gynecomastia. Spiral nevi, dilated veins due to excessive estrogens. Some kind of nail changes, and there may be erythema of skins, pedal edema, severe ascites. Clinically, cirrhosis are divided into two types: compensated and decompensated cirrhosis. Decompensated cirrhosis means cirrhosis with complications of encephalopathy, ascites of or variceal hemorrhage, that is decompensated cirrhosis. And cirrhosis without any of these complications, that is called compensated cirrhosis. Diagnosis of cirrhosis: various liver function tests, which includes various enzyme tests like serum aminotransferase, alkaline phosphatase, GGT, gamma glutamyl transpeptidase. Then there is measurement of serum bilirubins, direct, indirect and total bilirubin estimations. For synthetic functions, serum proteins, albumin globulin ratio, and prothrombin times for coagulation factor production measurement. Then various radiological tests like sonography, CT scan, MRI can occasionally suggest the presence of cirrhosis. They are not adequately sensitive or specific for use as a primary diagnostic modality, because this test just detects presence or absence of cirrhosis, but etiological factors doesn't revealed by this radiological investigation in majority of cases. So major utility for this radiological test are evaluations of cirrhotic patients, because it have ability to detect complications of cirrhosis. So for detections of various complications, various radiological tests may be required rather than for diagnosis of cirrhosis. Then coming to river biopsy, obtained either by various routes like percutaneous biopsy, transjugular or laparoscopic biopsy, or radiographically guided fine needle aspiration cytology. So FNAC or biopsy can be performed. These are sensitive of a river biopsy for cirrhosis is 80 to 100% depending upon the method used and the size and number of specimen obtained. So highly sensitive test, plus this biopsy also detects particular etiological factors. Not necessary if clinical, laboratory and radiological data strongly suggest presence of cirrhosis, but this biopsy required whenever this data doesn't indicate particular etiological factors, because this is invasive process. River biopsy can reveal the underlying cause of cirrhosis, as I told you. Now coming to general management of cirrhosis, nothing cures scar tissue. So here goals for management is treatment of underlying cause. If particular causative factors are identified, we must treat these underlying etiological factors. Then preventing further damage, treatment of symptoms and complications, to fight various infections, because if there is excessive infections, especially in GI tracts, there is malabsorption of waste and toxins. This ultimately causes various complications of cirrhosis. So to control infections, various antibiotics may be used. Salt restrictions, especially if there is severe ascites, and hemostasis if there is excessive hemorrhage. It may be due to hemorrhoids, esophageal varices, or it may be due to coagulation factor deficiency. Liver transplant if needed, if there is excessive involvement of parenchyma, then liver transplant may be required. Vaccinations against flu, pneumonia and hepatitis. Avoidance of hepatotoxic drugs. Diets, extra calories required and adequate proteins to help liver regeneration. If cirrhosis is advanced, protein restricted diet may be required, because if you give high protein diets, there is more amount of ammonia generation, and this ammonia ultimately causes hepatic coma, which is the complications of severe complications of cirrhosis of liver. So to avoid these complications, protein restricted diet may be required in advanced cases of cirrhosis. After general introductions of cirrhosis, coming to various alcoholic liver disease, classifications of alcoholic liver disease. Fatty livers, commonest one, present in more than 90% of cases. Then alcoholic hepatitis, present in 10 to 35% of cases. Cirrhosis in 10 to 20% of cases, and sometimes there may be development of hepatocellular carcinoma. So these are various alcoholic liver disease: fatty liver, alcoholic hepatitis, alcoholic cirrhosis and hepatocellular carcinoma. Pathogenesis of alcoholic liver disease: normal liver. If there is chronic alcohol exposure, initially there is fatty changes along with minor perivenular fibrosis. That is called alcoholic steatosis or alcoholic fatty liver disease. So this is initial findings on chronic exposures. But if there is severe exposure, there is occurrence of hepatitis. Both this hepatitis as well as fatty liver are reversible. So if there is abstinence from alcohol consumption, there may be reversions of fatty changes as well as reversions of hepatitis. Hepatitis, there is reversal necrosis, inflammatory response. Due to inflammation, generations of various cytokines and toxins which causes necrosis of hepatocytes, inflammatory cell infiltrations, then particular changes like Mallory bodies and along with fatty changes may be present. In alcoholic liver disease, whether it is fatty liver changes, it is alcoholic hepatitis or alcoholic cirrhosis, there may be occurrence of fatty changes. If there is continuous exposure after fatty liver disease, continued exposure, it ultimately leads to cirrhosis of liver. So here there is excessive fibrosis plus there is regenerating or hypoplastic nodule formations. From hepatitis, sometimes repeated attacks may lead to cirrhosis. So normal process, normal mild to moderate chronic exposure of alcohol. From normal liver it goes to alcoholic steatosis, then alcoholic steatosis either converted into alcoholic hepatitis and alcoholic hepatitis converted into cirrhosis. Or there is bypassing of hepatitis, this alcoholic steatosis directly convert into cirrhosis. Various risk factors for alcoholic liver disease. It depends on quantity and durations of alcohol use, sex, genetic and metabolic traits, nutritional status and some other factors which will one by one in details. Quantity and durations of alcohol use. Risk of liver disease increase markedly for men who drinks more than 40 grams for more than 10 years. For cirrhosis to develop, consumptions must usually be more than 80 grams per day for more than 10 years. So long durations of chronic alcohol exposure leads to cirrhosis. More than 10 years required if more than 80 grams per day consumption is present. If consumption exceeds 230 grams per day for 20 years, risk of cirrhosis is about 50%. So here you can easily see risk depends on amount of alcohol consumption. If more amount is consumed, then there is more chances of cirrhosis. Then sex, women are more susceptible to alcoholic liver disease because in women it requires only 20 to 40 grams of alcohol to be at risk. So this level is half than that of men. Women have less alcohol dehydrogenase enzymes in their gastric mucosa. Thus more intake alcohol reaches liver. So one reason why women are more susceptible for alcoholic liver disease is in women there is less amount of alcohol dehydrogenase enzymes in gastric mucosa. Other reasons is estrogens increases gut permeability to endotoxins. In women there is more amount of estrogens in compared to men. That's why whenever more amount of estrogen presents, there is more permeability for endotoxins and these endotoxins ultimately leads to hepatocellular damage. Genetic and metabolic traits, because alcoholic liver disease often runs in families, so there is polygenetic or genetic polymorphism also responsible for alcoholic liver disease. Nutritional status, a diet high in unsaturated fat increases susceptibility, as does obesity. So obese patients are more susceptible for alcoholic liver disease. Other risk factors like concomitant iron accumulations in liver or concomitant hepatitis C also increase susceptibility for alcoholic liver disease. Coming to pathogenesis of alcoholic liver disease, alcohol absorption and metabolism. After consumption of alcohol, ethanol is absorbed unaltered in the stomach and small intestines. It is then distributed to all the tissue and fluids of our body in direct proportions to the blood levels. Less than 10% is excreted unchanged in the urine, sweat and breath. The amount exhaled is proportional to the blood levels and this forms the basis of the breath test used by law enforcement agency. Most of the alcohol or ethanol in the blood is oxidized to acetaldehyde in the river. So river is a major site for alcohol metabolism, and that's why various river disorders commonly occurs in case of chronic alcoholism. Here various enzymes present within hepatocytes, they convert this alcohol into initially acetaldehyde by alcohol dehydrogenase, then microsomal ethanol oxidizing system, P450 enzymes, cytochrome P450 enzymes, that is called microsomal ethanol oxidizing system, and catalase enzymes. The oxidations of ethanol produce toxic metabolites, and these toxic metabolites disrupt certain metabolic pathways. Ethanol, three enzymes for oxidations of ethanols: catalase, alcohol dehydrogenase. This one is major enzymes for metabolisms of alcohols, and there is P450 enzymes, which is present in smooth endoplasmic reticulums. This alcohol dehydrogenase enzymes present within cytosols, and catalase present within peroxisomes. So ultimate initial product is acetaldehyde, which one is more toxic products for alcohol metabolism, and majority of disease related to alcohol are due to accumulations of this acetaldehyde within bloods. Ultimately, this acetaldehyde converted into acetate by acetaldehyde dehydrogenase enzymes, which is present in mitochondria, and acetate converted into acetyl CoA, and ultimately it converts into CO2 and H2O. So this one is normal metabolisms, but due to excessive consumption of alcohol, there is accumulations of acetaldehyde, which leads to various alcoholic liver disease. This one is major enzymes, as I told you, and here there is conversions of NAD into NADH. Here also there is conversion of NAD into NADH. Ethanol ultimately converted into acetate. These are various enzymes for conversions. Excessive NADH productions leads to reactive oxygen species accumulations, and this reactive oxygen species leads to damage to various cellular structures. That's why there is inflammatory reactions, hepatitis, as well as necrosis of liver cells occurs. Plus this excessive NADH, whenever they get converted into NAD, there is generation of excessive triglyceride and very low density lipoproteins. That's why fatty liver occurs. Due to excessive generation of triglycerides, these triglycerides accumulated within hepatocytes, that is known as fatty changes or fatty livers. Pyruvate converted into lactate. Here also NADH converted into NAD, and here there is reduced gluconeogenesis, reductions in glucose generations. That's why hypoglycemia occurs. Excessive lactate productions leading to lactic acidemia, hyperlipidemia due to triglyceride accumulations. Now coming to alcoholic steatosis or alcoholic fatty livers. Fatty liver is the accumulation of triglyceride in hepatocytes. It is the initial and most common consequence of excessive chronic alcohol consumption. Fatty liver is potentially reversible. It is often asymptomatic. In 1/3 of patients, the liver is enlarged, smooth, but it is not tender. So this one is difference between alcoholic hepatitis and alcoholic steatosis. In alcoholic hepatitis, liver becomes tender, while in steatosis or fatty liver, liver is not usually tender. It may lead to an elevations of laboratory findings, especially various impairment of various liver function tests occurs due to excessive fat accumulations. It is often diagnosed with imaging when the patients present with unrelated symptoms. So various radiological investigations may be required for diagnosis of fatty livers if patients present with unrelated symptoms. Pathology of fatty livers. Gross pathology: liver is enlarged, excessive fat accumulation, that's why liver becomes yellowish in color, greasy because fat or lipid tissue, that's why liver becomes greasy. Forms Due to enlargement of river, capsule become bristling capsule. On microscopic examinations, there is accumulations of fat droplets within hepatocytes leading to microvesicular droplets, macrovesicular droplets. Sometimes there may be presence of hypogranuloma. That means granulomatous inflammations due to repeats. Hypogranuloma. Gross morphology, normal rivers, enlargement of river, edge becomes smooth, color is yellowish, and whenever you touch this cut surface, it is greasy. Diagrammatic microscopic pictures of fatty rivers. Two types of fatty changes, microvesicular. Multiple small fat droplets within cytoplasm of hepatocytes, that is microvesicles or microvesicular fatty changes. If cytoplasm contains single droplets of fat, it is called macrovesicular fatty changes. Single fat droplets within cytoplasm of hepatocytes. These are normal hepatocytes, polygonal shapes, and pale pinkish or pale eosinophilic cytoplasm. And these all hepatocytes have fatty changes, either macrovesicular or microvesicular fatty changes. If this macrovesicular combines with one another, there may be fat cyst formations. Axial microscopic pictures of fatty changes, normal course of hepatocytes, sinusoids, fatty changes, macrovesicular as well as microvesicular fatty changes. After alcoholic steatosis, coming to alcoholic hepatitis, that is also called steatohepatitis, because here associated fatty changes are also present. That was steatohepatitis. Inflammatory changes along with fatty changes. Steatohepatitis. It is a combination of fatty liver, diffuse liver inflammations, and liver necrosis. Whenever there is inflammation, there is presence of some kind of necrosis. Clinical features ranges from mild and reversible to life-threatening: fatigue, fever, jaundice, right upper quadrant pains, tender hepatomegaly. In hepatitis, there is tender hepatomegaly, while in simple alcoholic steatosis, there is non-tender hepatomegaly. Pathology of steatohepatitis: grossly liver is enlarged and tender. Microscopic examinations: hepatocellular necrosis of zone 3. Initially, zone 3 is involved. So, in hepatocyte liver parenchyma, there are three zones: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zone 1 is near porter triads, and zone 3 is near central veins. Zone 2 is between zone 1 and zone 3. So, here in zone 3, there is hepatocyte necrosis. Ballooning degenerations. Cytoplasms of hepatocyte becomes enlarged or swallow. That is called ballooning degenerations. So, here enlarged hepatocytes containing pale eosinophilic granular cytoplasms. There is also necrosis of hepatocytes. Then Mallory or alcoholic hyaline bodies. Here there is fibrillar protein depositions within hepatocyte cell cytoplasms. On routine microscopic examinations, they appear eosinophilic within cytoplasm of hepatocytes. That is called Mallory or alcoholic hyaline. Inflammatory response, because hepatitis means inflammations, so inflammatory cells are also present. And mild to moderate fibrosis present, especially around cells. Individual hepatocytes, that is pericellular fibrosis. Around venules, that is perivenular fibrosis. Because here fibrosis is mild and it present especially in pericellular and perivenular locations. It looks web-like or chicken wire-like appearance, called as creeping collagenoses. Diagrammatic microscopic pictures: porter triads. This one is central veins, and these are pods of hepatocytes, sinusoids. Inflammatory cells, neutrophils, infiltrations. Ballooning degenerations of hepatocytes. cells become enlarged in size and cytoplasm contains eosinophilic granules, that is ballooning degeneration of hepatocytes. There may be necrosis of hepatocytes plus Mallory or alcoholic iron depositions. Eosinophilic fibrillar protein depositions within cytoplasms, that is called Mallory iron. Axial microscopic pictures, inflammatory cells infiltrations, enlarged hepatocytes containing granular eosinophilic cytoplasm, ballooning degenerations of hepatocytes. Here you can see alcoholic iron, eosinophilic material within cytoplasm, alcoholic iron or Mallory bodies. After alcoholic hepatitis or steatohepatitis, coming to alcoholic cirrhosis, it is advanced liver disease characterized by hepatocellular death with resulting fibrosis and regenerations that disrupts normal liver architectures. So here disruptions of normal liver architecture is present. Hepatocellular necrosis also present, excessive fibrosis, and due to loss of hepatocytes, there is regenerations that produce nodules. So regenerating nodules are present. The amount of fat present varies because alcohol is a etiological factor. So fatty changes may be present along with cirrhotic morphology. Alcoholic hepatitis may coexist. Whenever this hepatitis get converted into cirrhosis, there may be presence of changes of alcoholic hepatitis. The febrile compensatory atoms at hepatic regenerations produce relatively small nodules. So, characteristic features of alcoholic cirrhosis is micronodular cirrhosis. Uniform size, small less than 3 mm nodules. But if this cirrhosis becomes chronic or advanced, so in advanced stages, there is formations of broad bands of fibrotic tissue separating liver tissue into large nodules. So macronodular cirrhosis may occur in advanced stages. Any etiological factors of cirrhosis, whenever it gets advanced, there is occurrence of macronodules. So etiology for macronodular cirrhosis, common one is advanced stage of any cirrhosis, whether it is alcoholic or other. Pathogenesis of alcoholic cirrhosis. Here are vicious cycles of worsening inflammations occurs, cell necrosis and apoptosis resulting in hepatocyte loss. Subsequent attempts at the repair and regeneration result in fibrosis. Stellate or ethocels, which lines blood channels, sinusoids in liver, proliferate and transforms into myofibroblast. This myofibroblast produce excess amount of type 1 collagens and extracellular matrix. And due to this type 1 collagen productions, there is occurrence of fibrosis. As a result, the sinusoids narrow, limiting blood flow. That's why here there is occurrence of portal hypertension, because fibrosis produces narrowing of sinusoids. That's why back pressure changes occur, leading to portal hypertension. Fibrosis narrows the terminal hepatic venules, compromising hepatic perfusions and thus contributing to portal hypertension. Excessive fibrosis is associated with an attempt at regeneration, resulting in liver cirrhosis. Pathology of alcoholic cirrhosis grossly initially, because here initial stage is either alcoholic steatosis, that is fatty changes, or alcoholic hepatitis. In both these conditions, there is enlargement of liver. So here in initial stage of alcoholic cirrhosis, liver become enlarged in size. So large in size up to 2 kilograms in weight. Normally liver weight in adult is 1.2 to 1.5 kilograms. So initial stage of alcoholic cirrhosis, there is enlargement of liver, but ultimately whenever cirrhosis becomes diffuse, there is shrinkage of liver. So weight of liver reduced less than 1 kilograms. In advanced stages, there is formations of macronodules. Microscopic examinations, rhombular architectures, central veins. Here there is sclerosis or fibrosis, fibrous tissue, collagen tissue depositions around central veins. So central veins hard to find within lobules. Fibrosis is present in a characteristic perisinusoid chicken wire fence patterns. So here chicken wire fence pattern fibrosis is seen. Fibrous septa is present between central vein and portal tracts, or portal tracts between adjacent portal to portal tracts, or both. Hepatic parenchyma show micronodular regenerating nodules. Plus there is presence of hepatocyte necrosis, presence of inflammations, and bile duct proliferations, because there is compression on bile ducts, and due to compressions cholestasis occurs. In response to cholestasis, there is hyperplasia of bile ducts leading to bile duct proliferations. Diagrammatic growth pictures of alcoholic cirrhosis, micronodular cirrhosis, nodules less than 3 mm in size. Here nodules are uniform in size. Majority of nodules are uniform in size and they are less than 3 mm in size. Surface of micronodular cirrhosis, small less than 3 mm size, diffuse micronodules. Microscopic diagrammatic pictures of micronodular cirrhosis, smaller size nodules and excessive fibrosis around nodules. There is associated fatty changes, sometimes associated inflammatory changes, and changes of alcoholic hepatitis may be present. These are fatty changes within hepatocytes. Plus here there is ductal proliferations, bile duct proliferations in portal tracts. Axial microscopic pictures, uniform size, micro regenerating micronodules. Here there is absence of central veins within micronodules. Architecture is also rose and excessive fibrous tissue depositions around nodules. The small blue dots are inflammatory cells infiltrations. Mason trichome stains to detect fibrotic patterns. Pericellular fibrosis, fibrosis around cells. This blue colored staining on Mason trichomes is due to fibrosis. So pericellular fibrosis and perivenular fibrosis. So typical fibrotic patterns. Here you can see fatty changes within hepatocytes. Coming to clinical pictures of cirrhosis, alcoholic cirrhosis. So all features we previously see in general introductions of cirrhosis, they are present. Specific features due to alcohols like gastritis, gastric ulcers, malnutrition and various vitamin deficiency, especially thiamine deficiency, which leads to peripheral neuropathy and Wernicke-Korsakoff syndromes. Then alcoholic cardiomyopathy, acute and chronic pancreatitis, increased incidence of cancers of oral cavity and esophagus. So these are associated clinical features due to alcohol consumptions. Diagnosis. This diagnosis required history of chronic alcohol consumptions plus a liver function test. Sometimes to detect complications, radiological investigations may be required, and rarely to detect alcoholic changes within cirrhosis, we require biopsy or fine needle aspiration cytology of parenchyma. Management of alcoholic liver disease, abstinence from alcohol consumption, supportive care depending on sign and symptoms, corticosteroid and enteral nutrition for severe alcoholic hepatitis. Sometimes transplantations may be required. Thank you.